Oh man, come on. Come on, Mr. iPad interface, please work. Right, Dastil. So Dastil asked us, why is everyone putting up with that? From the Hong Kong thing to the arrogance and greed across Blizzard, but still enough people are sticking around. Is it not so bad, or are the whales so profitable? And it's an interesting one. That captures so much. I think it's the thing where it's like, not to be overly deep, it's like, oh yeah, we live in a society where it's like, you're playing World of Warcraft, you're playing with your friends, you're doing your dungeons, your raids, you're having fun. They put a store mount in, and you're like, this is not where I want to see this thing I like going. But is that going to be enough to boot? It's going to have to be a lot to boot you out. It's like, California's going to have to fuck up a lot before everybody starts moving to, I don't know, Texas and Nevada and all those other American states seemingly everybody's fleeing California for, right? You know what I mean? It's that thing where I think the amount of low-level issues that people can actually just bear for a long time is really, really high. So it takes a lot to break the camel's back. And I don't think they've done that yet. I think they could be getting close because Legion was great, BFA was not great. If Shadowlands was great, we'd all be, happy days.
Mm-hmm.
But Shadowlands is, it's not as bad as BFA in my view at all, really. It's like fundamentally, I think, better design in some ways. It has unique issues.
Yes.
But like, it is not the resounding win that we would have wanted. So I think that could be stacking up on people. And it's like with Blitzchung, you mentioned Hong Kong. I get it, but it's like, are you going to stop just because of that? That's a complex enough question because, World of Warcraft, the communities that we form, all of that stuff, like, it's big. It's big in people's lives. It is important. So I think for a lot of it, it is very possible to voice your negative opinions and still to get what you want from something. It's that sort of strange thing where, could you say the world would be a better place if everybody would immediately, put what feels good, sort of down for some form of greater good? Not particularly sure, but realistically, it's like, I can't just say that because I don't like how Blizzard handled Blitzchung, that everyone should stop playing Blizzard games. And I think for a lot of people, that would be quite a disproportionate response. Even though, but this is where it does become problematic, and I think this is why gaming has moved in the way that it has. That is something that I think the big companies know and exploit. They know actually how big of a role they have in our lives. And because of that, they know they can get away with a hell of a lot. So I don't think it's a situation where it's not so bad. I think with World of Warcraft, it could be way worse. Like, World of Warcraft could have the Final Fantasy XIV store. And like, if the Final Fantasy store was brought over to WoW, I mean, I'd be pissed. I don't think that will happen, though.
No, I don't think people would be.
At least not for a long time. But
yeah.
So I think it is that it is not. It's not so bad that people will leave. You said, or are the whales so profitable? I would say it's not so bad, and the whales are so profitable.
Yeah.
So let's think of one particular whale, Zakrar. Not to throw any wild shit at the guy, and he's definitely not a whale when it comes to buying store mounts, but it's a pretty good example because he got 600,000 views or whatever in that clip of him saying it. But he was saying like, well, for my characters, it's $140 to play TBC Classic, and you're like, means a lot to him. He said he's probably going to do it, I think, anyway. Yeah, I mean, he's a whale, and he's not a whale like out of his own fault. Or any way that's dramatic. It's just that's the way that the incentives have been set up. Blizzard have created that problem. And it's like, yeah, what are you going to do? Just not play the thing that actually means a hell of a lot to you and has been massive in your life? So there's that type of thing where there's people who are almost like begrudging whales because of this sort of setup and systems. And then it's like literally the store mount people. But remember, like Asmongold, say doing that for his 4 classic characters. That means that he is he's worth like double to Blizzard, right? I mean, a year of sub versus $140. I mean, that's roughly the same if you're buying that sub.
If
you're
buying 2 6 months, probably yeah.
Yeah, the player who purchases 1 boost and maybe 1 mount a year, they're worth like double a regular subscriber to Blizzard. Not double, but near enough. So I think it is that thing where it's not bad enough that players are flocking en masse, and whales are super, super, super profitable, and that is why you are seeing Blizzard do all that stuff. Because there will be somebody, because remember, the $69.99 deluxe edition of TBC does not come with a copy.
Yeah.
But the sort of person that is targeted at is the sort of person who is the most excited about TBC, because that's why they buy a deluxe edition. Therefore, what Blizzard clearly wants is for that person to drop $70 on that to get their level boost, and then buy maybe 1 or 2 copies as well. And then suddenly that person is giving them $140 or no $150 or no $140. And then if that person's getting 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 boosts, I mean, man, it's a lot of money. So that's how the monetization works in a game where people there is so much of a strong emotional pull, and you can do macro transactions. And I think that's very different to other games where it really is microtransactions that add up to macro.
Yes. World of Warcraft has a really interesting model as far as I can think of, because there's no way to hyper monetize as individual player unless the individual player is like a turbo multi-boxer, which obviously they've now made you're not allowed to multi-box anymore by the TOS. So they would have that historically where people would buy loads of copies and run loads of subs. There's the other one who would just buy every store amount, but that's fairly limited. I mean, it's a lot of money over time, but it's not a massive amount in one go. It pales in comparison to the kind of wheel you'll find in a gacha game or in a free-to-play game, which is where the microtransactions, like the repeatable microtransactions or the massive wealth of content can wreck you. World of Warcraft doesn't have that. The only place it has that is character services.
Yeah, where I just wanted to point out something somebody said earlier in the stream. It costs more money. It actually does. It costs more money to copy your character or to clone your character than it does to purchase Warcraft 3 Reforged, a product that Lemon Sky crunched while the Blizzard Classic team was working on it. You're like, why would you bother doing Warcraft 3 Reforged or any game like that when you could sell a store mount for basically the same amount of money, or sell a copy paste instead of a cut and paste for more money?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to get into in the amount of people who are like, I don't think they're whales as far as Blizzard is concerned. They have whales in the sense they have like the top end guilds that will server transfer and character transfer and race change and like faction transfer, and you look at that and that's however many thousands in one go, but that's nothing compared to nothing compared to the millions of pots of, maybe not millions anymore, but the hundreds of thousands of pots of frogs they're slowly boiling and occasionally dipping and going, oh, there's 20 quid out of you. There's obviously a tenner every month, $15 every month for a sub, but then it's every now and again it's a 6-month sub, and it's the odd character service out of everyone. So they're not going for the traditional whaling of 10% of the player base pay for like the other 90%. They're actually just going for everyone will get money sort of slurped out of them every now and again. But it's so many people that it ends up being all this massive amount of money. And it's with the 6th-month sub, the store mounts that are at the start of an expansion or the start of a patch, and the box price that they're doing that. They have this massive audience that they're pulling out of. It's not really whaling as much as the opportunity's not there. They're just fortunate enough to have so many people that they can actually like extract more value from than the average person.
Well, I think they know that whenever World of Warcraft first came out, they had an audience for that game that was humongous, but also routinely had to either beg their parents for the sub fee or, save up their pocket money. Yeah. And they now know that audience cares so deeply about that game because of where it is in all of our lives. It certainly is for me. But they now know that, that audience, they've got jobs. And because of that, they have the disposable income, and they know that they can charge these prices, and when they do, it's successful. And say what you will about the morals of it, or whether it's good for the game or bad for the game, it works. I mean, if you really want to just cut to the chase,
it works.
There you go.
It works a lot.
Yeah.
The game has been dying for how many years? And they're pulling in like record revenues. All right.
Yeah, and it's like I would really say dying, but I would say having severe constant issues that are frustrating, and even in the face of that, it can do so well. where, take, say, even Call of Duty, where, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which was the Jon Snow and Conor McGregor in space while they're trying. I think they had people from the Uncharted team, and they also tried to make it like Battlestar Galactica. I was like, well, Gata's a great character. This guy's called Gator, and he's got basically the same job. But that, while a bit of Battlestar Galactica Call of Duty is something I could be quite interested in, it was not what the Call of Duty community was interested in. And that game did, like, way worse. Way worse. But it's like, if WoW has a dud expansion or issues, still does good.
Yep.
And that, I think, just shows you how dedicated the WoW audience is. And I guess that's actually sometimes why I maybe get extra salty about things, because I just sort of see it as like, developers of other franchises, I mean, not developers, but like companies who produce other franchises would get punished more for this level of quality and success. That it almost feels like a little bit unfair, or a bit like, that success is taken for granted sometimes. I don't think it is literally by the developers, but I think that in giving those developers resources and timelines that sort of set them up to fail, I feel like it is taken for granted at the very top levels. And that basically sets it up that developers are in perpetual sort of individual crunch, and they always have to think about work and, all of that sort of nasty stuff that makes it very hard for somebody to have work-life balance and actually, do great work, because they're always in crisis mode. Yeah, so quite a lot there.